All right, everyone. So thank you for joining us today or tonight. On this webinar, we're going to be talking about how to increase marketplace exposure on Poshmark, Depop, and Grailed. So as you guys may know, we've recently released a new feature, a marketplace sharing feature. So on this call, we're going to talk a little bit about that, introduce you to it, get your feedback on it, and answer any questions that you guys might have. So if anybody happens to be here for the first time and you're not familiar with Vendoo, I'll just give you a quick overview of Vendoo and what we do, and then we'll get into some introductions and start the webinar. So here at Vendoo, we make software for online resellers. We help you guys run your businesses on multiple marketplaces very easily. We know that as a reseller, there's a ton of different jobs and responsibilities that come with running your stores and making sure that you're running a successful business. So we try to help you streamline all of those things into one platform. So our core features are cross posting, which is we allow you to list an item through our site one time and post it out onto up to 11 or 12 marketplaces at once instead of having to list on each one individually. We also help you keep organized with your items with inventory management. And then we provide you with data and analytics so that you can see how your business is performing across all of the different marketplaces that you sell on. So that's a brief overview of what we do here at Vendoo. Um, all of our features are built to increase productivity, to help you save time, to help you make more money. And on this call, we're talking specifically about marketplace sharing. So we know on these calls, you guys love to give us feature suggestions or you have requests of things that you want to see us add in the future. So the easiest way to do that would be to use the help button on the Vendoo software down in the bottom right corner. We would love for you to submit all of those requests, those suggestions, the feedback there, because we can properly document it and make sure that we keep you updated if we ever release the feature that you were requesting. So please don't put those in the chat because we know that you guys want to mention them here, but we would love you to submit them that way. That would be a little easier for us. So before we get started, I am Josh. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Vendoo, and I'm one of the founders. I'm located in the Maryland area, Baltimore, and I'm going to be hosting today. And then with me, we have Jason. I'll pass it over to Jason so he can introduce himself.
Hey guys. So my name is Jason. I am a product manager here at Vendoo, as well as a reseller. So actually got into Vendoo because of our reselling business. But no, super stoked to be here. I am from Colorado Springs, Colorado. And again, pleasure, and looking forward to showing you guys how this actually works.
All right, cool. Thank you, Jason. So, as you guys can see in the Zoom webinar chat, we have a regular chat where you guys are typing right now, type in your locations. But if you have any questions while we're going through the presentation, can you please put those in the Q&A? And that way we can find them very quickly and make sure we address your questions and get a response to you before the call is over. So that would be helpful for us as well. Okay, cool. So the primary focus of this feature is to provide visibility for your items. This is one of the core things that Vendoo does. We want to make sure that instead of your items being on one platform and only being seen by a select number of potential buyers, all of the things that we do are to help you increase your exposure, increase your visibility, get your items in front of as many eyes as possible so that you have a better chance of selling your items quickly, a better chance of reaching a larger audience, and also having the ability to establish your business on multiple platforms so that a change on one platform or a change on one marketplace won't affect your business too much, but you can actually have presence and visibility across all of these different platforms. That helps you not only sell more items, it helps you sell faster. And we know that that's the goal. And that's why we're really working so hard is to get these items sold. So we're going to talk a little bit about the marketplace sharing feature. I'm going to pass it over to Jason. He'll share his screen and kind of show you where to find this feature on our software. And we'll talk through how to interact with it on each one of the platforms that it works for. So go ahead, Jason, take it away.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you, Josh. So before we get into actually me showing you guys the actual tools itself, I just really kind of want to talk about why it's important to doing the sharing, relisting, and bumping. So most resellers out there use some sort of other tool to actually help them make this actually happen within the product. But we wanted to keep that a lot more simpler by being able to have that all within a single tool. So you guys are already creating the information within Vendoo, showing all the different stuff, making sure that you're actually seeing it on all the different platforms. And we want to make it simple so that way you can actually do this functionality across the three marketplaces that allow it all within a single part. Instead of having to have a tool for this site or a tool for this site, or you even going in and actually manually doing this. We do know that they make it a little bit simpler on some of the platforms to being able to slightly automate it or select maybe 12 or at a time or so, but that's still not going to be efficient and it's not going to be as consistent as you're actually wanting to have it. So this is why we actually took on that challenge to do it. It was a really, really sought out after request from pretty much you guys, which again is reiterating the point of please make sure you're getting those suggestions into the tools so that way we can prioritize it. But once we released offers, this was a very, very sought off after request. And so kind of just want to reiterate that this is because you guys have asked for that. And so again, the suggestions, we very much listen to you guys. Just keep them coming, keep them coming, keep them coming. But without further ado, I kind of want to walk through a demo of what it actually looks like, kind of walk through the different parts of the tools, what functionality is there. If you've used it, great. You might even find additional things that you may have not known about, but also being able to actually show you guys the whole holistic thing before you guys, if you haven't even tried it yet. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Okay. So when you first load your screen or whatever, you're going to see the inventory screen right here where it's showing you all the different items. You'll notice now that over the last 2 weeks, when you actually got this functionality available, we actually added a section called Pro Tools. This used to be where we actually had offers where you can actually manage it, but because we're actually coming out with this functionality of additional stuff that we're actually having, and hopefully additional tools that we're going to get some feedback from you guys from, this is a single place that you guys can come here and really try to manage your entire inventory outside of just your original listings. So we released offers at the end of last year, beginning of this year, as well as the auto offers, and we made it a much easier way to navigate to all those different functionalities. But the one we're going to be talking about in this webinar is specifically marketplace sharing. So when you first come into here, you're going to see that it's actually only available for three different marketplaces. That's because these are the only three marketplaces that really have that functionality that either doing bumping, refreshing, sharing really does anything. All the other marketplaces, they have certain other advertisements, such as like boosting or things like that. But that's not the functionality that this aspect is going for. This is much more the social aspect or really trying to get that information to the top of your closet, top of your page, or in front of other people's viewing. And so they're all built very, very similar, but we allowed it so that you could actually have different rules on all the different marketplaces. And we'll kind of talk about why we actually did that when we go into the subsections and go back to the PowerPoint on the tools. But for the most part, you can set up different rules for different marketplaces and different actions that you actually want to have. So for instance, I have it where I want to have my Depop sharing twice a day. And then I have my Poshmark where I actually only want to have it going once a single day. And I can customize these rules. I can have it different amounts to share, the sharing order that we actually want to associate, which just a friendly reminder is based on your Vendoo inventory, not your Poshmark closet. And then also the sharing speed. We mimicked the speeds from all these different other marketplaces. So there is different speeds such as slow, ultra slow, normal, and fast, and those are just 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 4 second. So that way you can kind of actually make it so that you're not looking like a robot that's actually working on your platform, which all the marketplaces have against their terms and agreements. We've also put in a max amount. So this is based on our studies and original trials and runs of this, trying to make sure that we're not getting anybody's account banned. Nobody wants their account banned, even if it is for 12 hours, 48 hours. And so this is the number that we found was a sweet spot where we had nobody getting banned. And so that's the reason why we have that daily limit. Now you can do multiple schedules a day. You can actually do up to 15 schedules per different marketplaces. And so if you want to have it where, hey, it's running for 100 items at this hour and 100 items at this hour and 100 items at this hour, you can do that. And you can set that up again differently for all the different marketplaces. Now, you'll notice when I get down to Grailed that we actually have additional things on that screen. And Grailed's a unique beast, which again, when we get to it, Josh is actually going to talk about. But I have my schedule set up very, very differently than I have for Grailed than I do for all the other platforms. And it's because of how the marketplace itself works. And so when we get into those details, if you guys do have questions about how to actually activate this, whether you want to do it scheduling wise or or following a different best practice where it's like, hey, I want to do this right after I'm done listing, all of that functionality is here within the tool right here at your fingertips. Now, I want to show something that probably not a lot of people actually look at, and that is the activity log. This is the ability to being able to actually see, hey, what has been shared? What time did it get shared? When, what, why was it shared? And you'll actually see that like right now it's actually sharing my Depop stuff because remember I had it scheduled for both 6 a.m. and there. I can search by SKU, I can search by title, I can even search by the different platforms. So I talked about our Grailed. We actually only sell our Grailed once a week, and that is on Tuesdays. So you'll actually see that, hey, it sent all the Grailed bumps on Tuesday only. And so this is a really, really easy way to figure out, hey, did it actually send? If there happened to be an error for any reason, being able to actually quickly see that error right here as well, which will then help us troubleshoot if there happens to be any sort of blocking at all. If I go back, you'll also see a couple different things that you can have a different history. So there are certain times where, hey, Grailed is a great example of this, where I cannot actually bump that right now because I just recently bumped it. You're going to be able to see why we actually didn't try to actually send that because we have the same logic on our end prior to actually sending it to Grailed. So that way you don't actually, we're not hitting Grailed saying, hey, let me try to bump this when we know already that that's not possible. So we will be able to tell you if we filtered something out, how many CAPTCHAs we figured out and solved on your behalf. All that information is right here within that history. And so this is a brief history of what's actually in the tool itself. Obviously, we know that you guys will want to have requests and stuff like that, but what I'd like to do is actually bring it back down to per marketplace so that we can kind of talk about the best practices that both myself and my wife see within our own inventory, but also what the knowledge is that's actually going from there. And I want to be very, very clear. This is going to be different for every single one of your stores. There is no, this is the best way because if everybody does it the best way, then no one's actually going to necessarily see that. So what we're going to say is some suggestions and some advice on how, like, hey, maybe try this if you haven't. But it doesn't mean that that's the best way that's going to work for your products. Maybe your products are going to have the clientele that's showing up at 6 a.m. on these different sites versus my clientele is going to show up at 9 p.m. or 6 p.m. And so always take this with a grain of salt of try things, figure out, have it work for about a week or so and see, hey, did this work for me? If it did, great, keep that up. And also remember, what works for one platform might not work for the other one. So again, change up those schedules on the different platforms. And if you're also not on all those platforms, I highly recommend getting on it. You will instantly see more sales the more marketplaces that you guys are on. So please make sure that you guys are trying to get all of your inventory as far and vast as wide because they are different people that are on those different sites. So without further ado, I'd like to go back to our PowerPoint where we can actually show the different aspects of what is there. So let me get that going. So Poshmark best practices. Poshmark is a very, very unique beast. We all, I'm just going to say, love the new policy of getting banned if you delist and relist. It is one of the features that Vendoo is very, very well known for. But we all know that, hey, that's against their new policy. So this is actually a perfect time for sharing. And why I want to really, really, really reiterate on that is although we can't delist and relist items on Poshmark without having some sort of a worry about getting banned, we can share. And what that's going to do is that's going to get that same listing bumped up to the top of your closet and in the face of all of your followers and anybody that's on the feeds. And so this is probably if you're only on a single marketplace using or sharing, this is by far the one that you want to actually do. This is still making sure that we are getting that visibility, getting this in front of every single user that's associated to it. In general, there are a couple different best practices that they actually have, but where the biggest one is there's something called like this 30-minute rule, roughly, where if you are listing on Poshmark and then you are sharing other listings or older listings, you are much, much, much more likely to actually get users to actually come to your store, come to see your closet, because you have both a brand new item, but you also have a sharing of an older item. And so there's that 30-minute rule where it's essentially after you're done with any of your sharing or any of your new listings, share for at least 30 minutes. Now, you could do this manually, like we kind of talked about, where you can go and you can share older listings to that. Or right after you're done listing for the day, you can come in here and manually actually just say, hey, I want to share 100 items, and then hit that share now button and then walk away, go make dinner, go do something else. From the platform's perspective, you're still there. You're still actively sharing stuff even after you did your listings. And so this would be one that, like, although you can do a schedule like we do, like we have a schedule. We have a schedule because we stop our listings every single day, very, very consistent. If you guys are much more ad hoc of like, hey, I'm doing a couple listings here, or hey, I'm doing a couple listings there, actually doing this manually is going to be a better result for you to getting more visibility to your closet. So just take that in consideration of whether you're doing a schedule or whether you're doing a manual. Um, Again, we all know Poshmark has this built into their algorithm, built into their activity logs. So please, 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 if you're only going to do at least one of these, make sure that Poshmark is there because it's super, super critical. But with that said, is there any questions specifically on Poshmark that I can answer? We are going to have a Q&A at the end, so if you don't ask it right now, that's fine. No worries. But want to make sure that while we're on the topic of all these different individual platforms, we can answer it. But don't see that any have come in for that specifically. Hold on, multi-hour. Yes, how to set multi-hour sharing. So you would just set multiple different schedules. And so that what would happen with that is that you would set up I want to send and again the speed is 1, 2, 3, 4. So you would just set up however many you wanted to do, and then set up the different schedule for once an hour I want to share 10 or whatever it might be.
Jason, I see a few questions here that we can probably jump into. So, is it randomized? Are the items randomized?
No,
You
so
mentioned early.
yeah, there's two
You
different ways
mentioned
that we can
earlier
actually
that
do
you.
this. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
let me go through. I want to just reference back to something that you said. So
Yeah.
you said you can make multiple schedules throughout the day to have some of your items sent in the morning, maybe some sent midday, some sent afternoon. But are those schedules randomized, or are they going to send a separate segment of your items when they go out on the share, like the afternoon share versus the morning share?
Yeah, good question. So we only share those items a single time, and so it will share brand new items that are actually associated to it. And if you, it'll also depend on whatever order you set. So if you have a schedule that says top to bottom, and then the next one is bottom to top, it's going to be different items that are actually associated to them. We do have a random option within it, and that's just going to pick any random item that is within your inventory on that specific marketplace.
Does it allow you to share by category on Poshmark? I'm just
It
finding some questions in the chat.
Nope, you're good. No, it does not. And so we have our version of we took a look at a couple different competitors, some that are on Poshmark, some that are on Depop, and we wanted to find what was a middle ground that was actually holistic across all of them. And we found that category wasn't one that we could actually do sort of buy that on all of them. So we did not build that within the feature. It is just based on either the top, the bottom, or a completely random.
I'm just scrolling back to answer a few questions in here. So, does everyone have access to it already, or is it in beta testing? So, we've given this feature, we've given access to everyone. All of our users have access to this feature. but it is still a beta feature, meaning that we're still improving it. We're still taking your feedback so that we can perfect this feature. It's not 100% completed, but yes, everyone does have access to it.
Yep.
Um,
I do want to hit Jerry's real quick. So Poshmark, that's a policy that Poshmark put into place, where it's called excessive delisting of items. It's against their policy now, even if it is over 90 days old, if you significantly lower your amount, it is there. Um, Megan, you said, why does it share not for sale items? It is keying off of what your Vendoo status is. So if your Vendoo status is active, it's going to share it. And so that's where I would start. And if that's not happening for you, please open up a ticket for us.
Laura asks, should we not be using delist relist anymore for Poshmark? Just sharing, or is delist okay for items over 60 days old?
Yeah, so
So,
go ahead.
well, I'll jump in really quickly. So, according to their policy, which is pretty vague, items over 60 days old are eligible to be shared without any penalty. We suggest that you use our stale listing warning feature. We have that feature in our Vendoo settings where you can turn on the 60-day warning and Vendoo will notify you which of your listings have been listed for over 60 days. That's probably a good way to determine which of your items are eligible to be delisted and relisted. As for the sharing is a good workaround in the meantime to make sure that those items are continually getting moved to the top of your closet and getting some visibility since you can't delist and relist them as frequently as you used to. So the sharing is probably a helpful workaround to this new policy. Do we see any other questions in here that are Poshmark related?
No, but again, even if we get some more in, we can always address that when we get to the end of the Q&A. Cool. So I will pass it over to you, Josh.
All right. So Grailed is going to be a little bit different than Poshmark because Grailed has a few different regulations in the bumping. So first, I'll explain what the bumping is, and then I'll explain how they allow you to use that feature. So bumping on Grailed will bring your listing to the top of any search results or the feed of any buyers that follow you. So if you have people that follow your store, if you bump those items, it'll bump to the top of their feed. Also, Grailed is like a never-ending timeline of items that people just as people list items, they go to the top of the timeline. It's chronological. So you can expect that if your items have been listed for 7 days, they've been moved very far down that list, and a bump will take them back up to the top. So that's important because a lot of people search those just in items at the top of that timeline. So Grailed regulations, they allow you to bump a listing every 7 days within the first 30 days. So typically you can do 7 bumps per item on Grailed. After 30 days, in order to bump that item back to the top of your feed or to the top of your followers' feeds, you would have to lower the price by at least 10% in order to bump that item. But in the first 30 days, you can bump once every 7 days. So Jason mentioned that his policies and the way that he sets up his sharing for Grailed is just once a week on Tuesdays because he knows that he has once every 7 day ability to get those items bumped to the top of that feed. So on Grailed, I would be careful about not well you don't necessarily have to be careful because on Vendoo we warn you which items are available to be bumped and which ones aren't, and then we also include throughout the platform disclaimers so that if you're not familiar with Grailed, maybe you're a Poshmark seller and you're trying Grail for the first time, we do put those prompts and we put their policies in blue or in a caption somewhere within that feature so that you know what the requirements are. So on Grailed, I would say to set up something similar to Jason, where you might bump your items once a week. You can kind of determine based on when you see the most traffic on your store, or when your items typically tend to sell the best for you on that platform. Maybe it's the weekend, so you might want to set a bump every Friday for the first month. But that's kind of a trial and error thing that you can use within your business and experiment with to find the best time that works for you. For me personally, I like to do my shares in real time. So like Jason mentioned earlier, if I'm listing a few new items, let's say I put 10 new listings up. After that, I'll just run a bump of all of my items that are eligible to be bumped right after I do my new listing so that I can get visibility for all of those items at the same time. So that's my suggestion for what you should do on Grailed, but it's definitely up to you. It's not a one size fits all solution like Jason mentioned, but I would love to answer any questions if anyone has any that are Grailed related. I don't see any Grailed specific questions, but I'll read a few other questions out for you, Jason, and you can jump in on these. So, do we need to put a number quantity in the Vendoo field, amount of items to share when we set up sharing? My field is currently blank, but my activity log shows all my items for shared were shared for each scheduled sharing. What does inputting a number in the field, amount of items to share, do?
Yeah, I can take that. So, if for instance you actually have like 6,000 items or even more, or even you only have 200 items and you want to only share 10 at a time throughout the day, each hour, maybe you want to do 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. That would be where the number actually is there for. If you don't care about actually having all of your items shared, then you would just leave that blank or select that checkbox.
Is this only able to set up on desktop? So yes, this is a desktop feature. Right now, this isn't available on Vendoo Mobile. We might add it in the future, but we're not sure yet. This feature is still in beta, so we're still testing it on desktop to see how the users are interacting with it, and we're working to improve it first before we move it over to mobile potentially. Is there any additional Vendoo charge for the marketplace sharing? So at the moment, the sharing feature is completely free, I believe, until June 15th. After June 15th, it will be an additional charge. It'll be a $9.99 charge for the sharing feature. And so take advantage of this feature for the next 10 days, completely free, and spread the word to anybody else that you think might want to try it before you have to add that to your subscription.
I'm going to
Can you
answer Boogie's
go ahead?
question around. So if you do select the maximum and you have 400 items, it's not going to necessarily just share within that scheduled hour. So it really depends on what your speed is that you're setting. So if you set it up where it's the fastest, which would be we're going to share something once every 1 second, you can only share up to 360 items in that hour. So it will continue going until it's actually done with that, but it won't actually be completely done for there. Posher VA isn't free, so you do pay for it.
So as Jason showed on the Vendoo software when he was sharing his screen, we've added a section called Pro Tools, and those Pro Tools are made to be used in conjunction with each other as benefits to your business. So the sharing, the bumping, the sending offers, all of these things can be used in conjunction with each other strategically, which is similar to the features that Posher VA offers for $25 a month, specifically only for Poshmark. But now we have the ability to do the sharing and then also the sending of offers on multiple platforms, which is a much bigger value because we can do it not just on Poshmark, but on a lot of other platforms that don't have any tools available for that. Okay, so we'll get into some of these other questions shortly, but Jason, I think you can jump into Depop.
Sure. So Depop is actually very, very similar to Poshmark. It is very much a social aspect for it. The difference is that you obviously don't have titles, you don't have those things, so your pictures really, really matter when it comes to Depop. And it's not just for when we're talking about refreshing, but it's also talking about just in general, pictures really matter for Depop. So to get the most out of this when it comes to there is really trying to make sure that your first picture is always key, and then you have very, very good descriptions for them, as well as additional photos as they need to be. Again, it's very, very similar to Poshmark. So this is to get it to the top of your closet, being able to get it in front of people, being able to actually show it. And just like all the other marketplaces, as Josh kind of alluded to, if you ever find out that like, hey, you want to put on that stale warning list, which I highly recommend you guys doing, Depop is another one of those that's very, very good about if it's over a certain time, actually just doing a delist and relist on it instead of actually doing a share because you're going to get it in front of brand new people that have never seen it. But also then your sharing and refreshing will go a much, much farther away. Also, just like Poshmark, Depop really, really thrives on you doing this right after. So again, if you are very consistent of when you're actually listing versus not, a schedule is perfect for this. But if you are more ad hoc of when you're actually listing, just do a manual 30 items after you actually are done for the day. Set it, hit it on for Vendoo, and then just go make dinner or go do an errand or whatever you need to do. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. They both fall into the exact same boat. And so best practices that you learn on Poshmark also are pretty much applicable to the Depop community.
Jason, for anyone that might not be familiar, can you share your screen to the Vendoo account again and show them where they can find that stale listing feature?
Sure. Okay, so when you are on active, you'll see that these are our newest items. I'm going to show a couple different places. So the first one is within this. These are kind of sorting. If I go by stalest, this is going to show me my items that are the oldest. You'll notice that none of these are there, and we kind of follow a pretty good best practice of being able to make sure that we're actually getting it up and running. But I can actually also change this where I don't want it to be 120 days. I want to show stalest items that have been on a marketplace for 30 days. And so if I go back to my inventory, I haven't delisted and relisted these things. So I can see that on eBay, the last time I did this, I listed this was 84 days, 84 days, 84 days, 84 days, and 84 days. So you'll see that we actually are purposely trying to make sure that we're relisting and delisting on all of our different marketplaces at all the same time.
And if you go back to that previous screen, you guys can see that when he changed his stale listing feature to 30 days, it put a little yellow tag on the corner of the marketplace of each one of these items. And that allows him to know that that item is stale. Before, when he had his stale listing set to 120 days, that notification wasn't there. So
Yep.
because those items didn't fall in that category. So you can go back and show them. So you can see there's no stale listing warning on any of these items because according to the requirements that he set, they don't meet the 120-day requirement. So that's a quick and easy notification that we give you to help you keep track of how long your items have been listed. And you can also use that to determine when you want to schedule your bumps, when you want to schedule your shares, and those type of things. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. So we're going to open the floor up to questions. If you guys have questions, it would be helpful to put them in the Q&A, and I'll start reading them from there. So Jason, I'll just read out a couple questions, and you can jump in, and let's try to knock out a few of these. So does it matter if my computer is on or not once I've scheduled listing times?
Yeah, so you do need to have your computer on and a window open that is associated, like that your Vendoo account is still associated to. So um, you do need to have that on.
All right. So if anyone is experiencing something that they believe might be an error, I think the best place to do that, the best place to go through that would be in the help center. I mean, that's not the help center, in the help button on the Vendoo software. You can see in the bottom right corner of Jason's screen, there's a little pinkish red button. You can click that, and our team can respond to you in real time, either in a chat or they can direct you to maybe a help center article that would help you. But that's the best place to navigate those type of bugs or those type of errors because they can actually see into your account and see what you're doing and get a better gauge of what might be happening to give you the correct advice. So if I'm reading a question and it looks like you might be having a situational error, I think the best place to take it would be to that help button. Okay, let's see. What was the price point again for the Pro Tools? The Pro Tools will be, well, not the Pro Tools, but the sharing itself will be $9.99. That's per month. Um, will they be given a discounted rate if a year is paid upfront? So all of our extra features are included for free in the yearly plan. So that's a benefit of getting one of our yearly plans. Those features will automatically be included. All of our add-on features and the sharing feature will be included in that yearly plan. So if you're in a monthly plan, it might be a good value for you to upgrade to a yearly to take advantage of all of those extra benefits. Okay, let's see. Will you be adding Mercari?
So Macari is more of a promotional. So think of like eBay promotions versus Macari. Depop also has that for I think it's called boosting their closet. Those aren't necessarily the exact same, so we haven't we're not currently looking into that. And then
Uh,
again, Lina, I believe I already answered, but maybe I didn't quite get it through. So if I don't this time, can you please also repeat it? It will only share items that are sold if you have it as an active status on Poshmark. So if you have it as an active status on Poshmark, it's going to share. If you have it where it is marked like sold and not no longer listed on in within Vendoo, then that would be a bug, and please open up a ticket.
can you set stale warning by platform?
No, so this is set global, but where I will actually show you. So if you look on my screen right now, I set it back to 120 days. You'll actually see that this Depop one, we actually didn't, for some odd reason, we did not refresh this one. So all the rest of these are under 120 days, but this Depop isn't. And so it will only show up on there. But the actual timing of 120 days, 90 days, 30 days, 15, those are set globally.
A way that you can work around that very quickly is you can use the filter here to filter active and by marketplace.
Yep.
So let's say hovered over eBay and active to only see the items that are listed on eBay. And then you can go into the stale warning and change it to whatever you want to see just the eBay stale listings or any marketplace of your choice. So even though you can't set that stale listing warning differently for each platform, you can manipulate it very easily in real time. When you have a larger closet, how much do you suggest I share my closet? Just once a day? I was hosting a posh party today and I manually shared approximately 400 listings before the party and got shut off until the party began.
I'm not quite sure I know what the shut off means. But in general, you are probably working faster than what they think a bot is. We actually share our entire cloud. Well, we share 6,000 of our items every single day. Yeah, so Posh probably shut you down. Sorry for that. But yeah, we purposely put more time in between our different listings because we want to make sure that we're not getting shut down. And so that's where those different speeds come into play. And so I would recommend if you're getting like flagged by any sort of thing, you were just going faster than whatever these are, which is ironic. But in general, yeah.
What exactly does sharing mean or do? Is this basically like a promote feature of Mercari, but it doesn't require a discount? Is it only for followers? Best description, please. Thanks.
Yeah, so they're different for each one. So Poshmark, it's going to share to all your followers that are associated to that. Both Grailed and Depop, it's actually just going to share at the top of your store. And so that that's just based on how the different platforms are. There is no fees associated with any of these, and so that's why we wanted to make sure that we're not bringing those ones in. Like I said, there are features within Poshmark of like having a promoted closet or boosted within Depop or Macari, like, or even within eBay, you can have very, very different things. Those are all very good tools to actually also leverage. However, they also come with a cost to your bottom line. And so we wanted to make sure that we're being very, very clear of none of these features right here will take out from your bottom line when it comes to that.
Someone
Um,
said,
yeah, go.
I missed the coffee chat with Aaron and Deanna. Any way to get this back? So unfortunately, Aaron and Deanna are no longer with Vendoo full time. They still help us with various things, but Aaron is practicing law full time, and Deanna has moved on to become a full time reseller and focus on her business. So they're no longer on the team. We will have some coffee chat calls again in the future, and we'll keep you guys updated on all of our social media, on our Facebook group, and in emails when those calls return.
And a couple people have also mentioned about like I think Jerry has said it about the 6K. Again, this is something that we did do some studies on and ensured that we are not actually getting accounts banned. It is something that obviously we can look at some point in the future. It is just a number in our code base. It has nothing to do with that, but we wanted to make sure that we are making this open and available for the majority of users without making sure that we're still being safe with users. So please keep that feedback coming and actually honestly submit those ones to the help center because again, as I kind of talked about at the top of the hour, we 100% built this feature because you guys have asked for it. And so please keep that feedback coming and because it is listened to.
Patricia said, I share 6,000 daily at different times throughout the day. Great feature.
Yep.
Thank you, Patricia. I'm glad that it's working for you, and I appreciate the feedback.
Um,
Okay, cool. Go ahead, Jason.
No, you're good. So we did have a couple different questions that got posted in there that we didn't answer, but they are much more for like trying to troubleshoot some things either even outside this feature. I hear you and I'm reading them, but please make sure you're also opening up a ticket with our customer support. They're rock stars. They will get you set up. They will help you with any of your problems that you're actually having. So please, 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 please make sure you're hitting that button they will be available and get back to you guys.
All right. So before we end the call, I just wanted to share a few resources for you guys that you can check out. So if you're on social media, we are on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and a lot of different places. So feel free to find us on there on Instagram at vendoo.co. You can keep up with the things that we're releasing, updates, contests and giveaways, those type of things. We have a very active Facebook group. I'll put the link for our Facebook group in the chat so you guys can join that if you're not already a member. But there's thousands and thousands of Vendoo users and resellers in that group that share information with each other. You guys can talk about features together. You can talk to our team there. So that's a great place to just have a good Vendoo conversation or reseller related conversation. We always interact in that group with everyone daily. And then if you want a little bit more information about this feature specifically, we have an article in our help center that will walk you through all of the intimate details very carefully. And you can see that link right here in the chat. So feel free to open that in another tab and use that resource whenever you'd like. And I think that's it for this call. We appreciate everybody joining. I hope this was helpful. Please keep the feedback coming. We thrive off of feedback. We improve the product off of you guys' feedback. So any features that you would like us to build, anything that you would like to see on the platform, anything that's not working for you, please let us know. We want to make sure that we are fixing things in real time and constantly improving. So we really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a great rest of their night. Thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you guys later.